Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you before, though.
Weird. That's so strange.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea why my audio only works when you're here. Sorry.
Not the first
Um,
time I've heard that, believe it or not.
yeah, well,
All
so,
right. So this is
yeah.
our second pop-up Facebook Live.
hmm
I'm kind of liking the pop-up format. I mean, I think we have a sort of a general plan to, to do these fairly regularly, but I like
hmm
hey, we're going to be talking tonight. So,
Right. I agree.
what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely do. Especially because things are unpredictable and,
Yeah.
you know, the world is crazy and my kids are crazy and who knows when we're free. And so it's nice to be able to just go, we have some time.
Yeah.
We want to talk about this stuff and, hopefully it can be helpful.
And there's
Um,
a replay, so
yes, there's that too.
easy peasy.
That helps. So what's your
Cool.
beverage this evening?
I'm having the most bougie thing I think I've ever had in my life.
Ooh,
This is hard kombucha,
nice.
and it's cucumber and juniper flavored, which it's so, sort of vaguely like a cousin of gin, but a
Mhm.
like a really um I don't know, like a warm, comforting grandma of gin.
Very
What do you
nice.
have?
Well, I have gin. I'm drinking fancy. This is
Very
the
nice.
Hendrick's Midsummer Solstice gin with
Oh, awesome.
the homemade lavender simple syrup that you recommended,
Very good.
which is delightful. So, cheers.
Cheers. Okay.
So,
So we
yeah,
want to talk tonight about big, bold moves for your business.
right. So I think, there's this feeling that you have to do things kind of incrementally and kind of build to a certain level, or that you have to have a million things in place in order to make a big move. Um, you know, when we launched, was that just last week? Oh my gosh, it's been, I think it was
It
maybe
might have
two
been
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. The new services.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, we really, we talked about some of the things, and sometimes, when you do launch things like, for example, our DIY kits, there are a lot of back end systems that do need to be in place. And that's kind of, you can't really
Sure.
get around that necessarily unless you want to create a lot more work for yourself later on. Um, and so, there's this whole process to it. Um, and you have to make sure that the website is live to link from the email to, and then when you get to there, it has to link to the shopping cart, which then
Right.
links to the PayPal, which then links back to the email service. And, there are just so many things along there. But you don't need to have a big complicated funnel and your ads in place and your webinars in place and your opt-ins in place and all of these things just to say, you know what, I'm just going to put this out there in the world. Um,
Right.
and I think that right now is such a good time to be making big moves. Not just, I think as a business owner, I see a lot of people launching in August, September, October. It's when
Hmm.
we get really crazy because everybody goes, I want to launch this big thing and I've got this, I'm back from vacation and I'm inspired and I've got all
Yeah.
these, or I want to get these products in place in time for Black Friday,
The
Cyber
holidays.
Monday, whatever that
Yeah.
is. I think that this is really when we see so much activity. Um,
Hmm.
and so that's kind of cool. But at the same time, I think people get really wrapped up in the process of it.
Yeah. I think there's a tendency, and this isn't specific to business, but there's a tendency to think there's one way to do things, and this one.
Oh,
Um,
I think you froze.
a
I don't know if it's me or
yeah,
you.
not necessarily. Oh, am I
I
back?
lost you there for a second. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But what
Okay.
were you just saying?
Oh, hey, Annie's watching. Hi, Annie. I just I just saw you there. Um, yeah, well, I was saying I think there's a tendency for people to think like, oh, there's one weird trick, right?
Mhm, for sure.
And and that's the one answer. That's the way to do it because life is hard and running your own business is tough.
Mhm.
And we are, I mean, it's kind of comforting to think, oh, if I just get these steps right, I'll
Yeah.
be golden.
Right.
And honestly, that's not how anything in life works.
Right.
I think it used to for certain segments of the population,
Hmm.
but all of that has flown out the window.
Hmm.
I wasn't brought up in the world where that was an option.
Hmm.
So for me, that's a pretty it's kind of an exotic way of thinking.
Sure.
And it's and now I'm seeing like, oh, I can help people navigate through this because this is just how I've always lived my life.
Right.
Um, so bringing it back to business and taking, risks and being really bold right now. I mean, I think we talked last time in our Facebook Live about how this is a great time to make mistakes. And it's a great time to try things that you haven't tried before because if you fall flat on your face, listen, I don't remember what somebody said to me from, 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I, I don't have, nobody has the capacity to go, oh, wow, that was really awkward.
Yeah.
What happened with that? Nobody, nobody cares.
I think everyone has this feeling that the thing that you did that was stupid in third grade, everybody's still thinking about it, and they're
But
not.
they are though, right? No, they're not.
No, you are every night when you fall asleep and you're going,
Yeah.
why did I do that? Everybody thought I was. Nobody cares. You get to a point that you kind of move on from that and go, you know what? I did screw that up, or I did say something stupid, or whatever it is. But people
Michael
aren't.
Volker said that I was barf
There you
in
go.
third grade.
Yeah.
It was horrifying. Yeah. I'm sure he doesn't remember, but I do.
Well, and that's it. Like, we hold on to these mistakes that we make. And in business, I've made plenty of mistakes. I've had lots of things where I did a launch, I didn't support it the right way I should have, I didn't, promote it the right way, and it kind of fell flat. And I went, my business is over. Nobody's ever going to buy from me
Yeah.
again. I totally screwed this up, and there's never going to be any interest in what I do. Um, and I think that one of these things is nobody is going to remember that. Nobody is going to come back to
Nah.
that and go, nah, their last launch was crap, so I'm not interested in the next one. It's like, it's what you're putting in front of them every single day. And if you think, I mean, when you scroll through Facebook, how many freaking ads do we see?
Right.
There's so many. There's so many things that are put out there. People are not going to remember. If you put out one ad that's kind of junk and nobody really notices it, they're also not going to remember it. When you come back the
Right.
next time you do
Right.
something and you go, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try this instead. They're going to be like, oh, now that's caught my eye. And there's never going to be
Yeah.
any memory of, before. And
Well, I mean, and I think on that point, there's something I just sort of remembered as you were saying that, right? Is typically it takes 6 points of contact before someone will buy from you.
yeah,
So they may not even be paying attention for the next 5 ads.
yeah.
What they are going to notice is the longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. I've been seeing this for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it's about. They're not going to go, oh, they had that one really stupid ad that probably nobody looked at.
Right.
And moreover, I mean, and this is assuming that you're like most people and you, even if you don't want to admit it, you care a little bit what people think about you.
Sure.
Um, I I am always really in admiration of the people who do things and screw up very publicly and then come back and go,
Whoops.
okay, I'm going to try this other thing because that didn't work.
Right.
This is the time to be that kind of, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
This is not a time to sit back and wait for things to go back to normal because that ain't happening.
Right. Right.
Also, I just side note, I'm so pleased to see that my dear friend Charles from grade school remembers Michael Volker. He's saying in the comments, Volker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about things that I've done recently and purchases I've made recently. I've bought a bunch of stuff recently, just like little bits and pieces of things that I was like, "Ooh, that's fun, that's fun." A lot of them are Facebook ads that I saw 900
Hmm.
times. And on that 900th time, I went, I keep thinking about this and I don't know why I don't just check it out. And, the next thing I know, it's in my cart and I've bought it. And it does, like you said, it is the 6 points of contact. Because the first time I saw it, I was probably like, oh, that's really cool. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't think there are too many people who just go like, oh, that's cool, purchase, done. Um, I
Right.
think it really does help to mull it over. And so trying 10 different things, 10 different ways, that's where you kind of go, oh, okay, well, this one got better reaction than this one, but maybe the people needed to see this before they bought from this. And,
Yeah.
when you do make these big moves in your business and say, I'm going to just launch this thing, I'm going to get it out there in the world. Now's the time to do that. Now's the time to say, I am just going to try it. I'm going to try it. And if it totally fails, then fuck it. I'll try the next thing.
Yeah.
Or, I'll try a different approach to this and, see what happens. But, holding back and going, well, I have to try this and I can't do it until I have all of these other things. It's just keeping you from getting in front of those people and getting to that 6th point of contact where they finally go, oh, that is the thing I need. That's exactly what I've been looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Because here's the thing, right? There's no committee. There's no committee who's going to go, oh, there, you're ready now, and I now crown you a real business.
Yeah.
You now know what you're doing. A dear, dear friend of mine is a pretty legendary author. Um, and I asked him once, or no, he said something on Twitter about, how it feels to, like, he retweeted something some other author said about, oh God, I'm just staring at the page. And I said, seriously, that still happens to you? And he messaged me and said, every single book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that nobody gives a shit and nobody's going to want to buy this. And I don't even know what I'm talking about. And that really helped me to just sort of let it all go. Because I thought, if he thinks this, and there's almost no one in the
Right.
world who doesn't know his work, like, okay, then this is just price of entry,
Mm-hmm.
And about a year later, a friend of mine that I grew up with, who she's got a pretty big following in a real niche industry, and she's published, I don't know, 14 books or something. And I said, oh my God, this is like, I don't know what I'm doing. And is anybody going to care? She goes, oh, this is just part of the process. Like, congrats, you're doing the thing.
Right.
I think it's really important to do what a friend of mine used to call just snipping off the nerve endings.
Yeah.
Um, you're not here to be timid. You're here because you have something that you think is going to help people. You think it's going to make people's lives easier or more fun or whatever. You're
Mm-hmm.
here because you want to make a ton of money,
Right.
and you have an idea that nobody else has in exactly the same way.
Right.
So you're not going to serve anybody, particularly not yourself, by hanging back.
Yeah. I think nobody really thinks that they're put here on earth to do the whole process of I'm really put here on earth to write my own sales funnels and do the webinars and do the whatever.
Right.
Some of those things need to happen because that's how you get in front of the right people the right number of times. But, you know, focusing on what really brings you joy and what really you feel is a useful thing that you're bringing to the world. Um, I think that we get so caught up in the business of business and, you know, being able to say, I'm going to make these moves, whether it's I have this idea and I'm going to turn it into a course. I have this idea and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to turn it into a product. I'm going to turn it into a service that I offer. However it is that you're doing it, taking it from an idea to something that you can present, whether it's 100% ready or not,
Right.
it's just taking that first step that is really critical. And I think most people whose businesses don't succeed are the ones who get stuck there because they have the great
Yeah.
idea and then they never actually get it in front of anyone. They don't make it available.
Yeah.
You know, being totally honest, full transparency, every time I have had a course, I've launched the sales before I finished writing the course. Every time.
I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
You have an idea of what you're going to do, you put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
you start getting the word out,
Mm-hmm.
and meanwhile on the back end, you're like the duck who's paddling furiously
Right.
below the water, but on top you're just gliding,
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and no shame in that, no
No,
harm.
no.
Um,
Well, that's, if you know generally what you're doing, you have a rough outline, you have some ideas, you can kind of fill it in. And sometimes people will come to you and go, I'm interested in this course. Is it going to talk about this? And you go, yes, it is. Now that you've said that, module number 8, that's what we're doing. So, you know, sometimes that feedback in real time is really important and, you know, really
yes.
valuable.
Yeah, because the feedback that you get from people, whether it's about a course or whether you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and then someone says, "Oh, I've been looking for something like that, but I kind of want it to focus more on this." Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You can either do that or you can't,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that sort of bringing your idea into the air and talking about it and bringing it to life, even if it's not a tangible thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Without that real world input, it's really difficult to gauge your own kind of, just like it's hard to catch your own mistakes when you're proofreading.
Right.
It's really difficult to gauge your own idea without that kind of feedback. And for a lot of people, myself included, that has been like, for me, that's historically been a really hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's something that matters to me, honest to God, like I'm terrified that whoever I tell about it is going to say, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
Like
No,
nobody, I
totally.
know it, like it's cute that you like that, but nobody really wants or needs anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get past that, or you're explicitly agreeing to not ever get anything out the door.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
would you do that?
Yeah. I think one of the really cool things about our business is that you and I have each other. So
Yeah.
rather than living in this kind of, you know, vacuum chamber where you're going, I have this idea and I want to do something about it, we can talk it over. And I think that that's been really valuable to me, being able to have that kind of back and forth before it goes live. And so, you know, not every business has that, but I think every business should have something. You know, you
An
should.
advisory board of sorts.
What's that?
Sorry, an advisory board,
Yeah.
however that looks for you.
Yeah. Well, and that's it.
A
Like you were
reality
saying,
check.
there isn't a board who approves it and says this idea is ready to go out. But at the same time, if you have somebody who you trust, who you know is good at what they do, who is you know, a valuable member of your industry, and you can go to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What would you do with it? And that could be a business partner, that could be a business coach, that could be a community that you're part of. You know, there are all sorts of different ways to approach that. But having that kind of back and forth is so much more valuable than I think people realize. You know, I went
Yeah.
years and years in my business where I had nobody but me. And every single time I sent something out, it was like this total terror of like, I have no idea what the response is going to be.
Yeah.
And
It's the worst.
I mean, but you know, it was usually good because I did a good job because I know what I'm doing. But when you send it out, you have that moment of like, I'm a total fraud. No one will ever like
Yeah.
this. I've done this horrible thing. And, you know, I'm waiting for the email back that says, I demand my money. You know, it's not realistic. It's not really based in anything that's ever happened or that's, reality.
Right.
But at the same time, it goes through your head every single time you send something out, unless you have somebody else to go, okay, I have this idea and I'm putting it out there. Or I wrote this thing. Can you just read through it once real quick? And that's
Yeah.
hugely valuable to me as a business owner to, you know, I can make much, much, much bigger moves in my business, knowing that I can say, hey, are we doing this? And then you can say, how about if we try this? And we go, oh yeah. And then, and having that back and forth really builds. And
Yeah. Yeah. It really scaffolds the whole thing and makes
mhm,
it much more plausible.
mhm,
And also, when you gather your people, your advisory board, whoever they are, um, it's great to have somebody who thinks like you. It's crucial to have somebody who doesn't think like you but understands the world you're in,
right.
right? I mean, like you and I, we're exactly alike except for where we're complete opposites, and that's how
Yeah.
things get done
Yeah.
in our
Well,
business, right?
right. Well, we were just talking about that earlier, this afternoon, where we have very similar philosophies and we have a very similar path as far as, our aesthetics and the general idea of the things that we like to do. But then when it comes to the details, I totally freak out when I have to do the relationship building stuff, when I have to, reach out to people via email or do
Right.
networking events. My God, that sort of stuff is just, it stresses me out. Like it makes my palms sweat just thinking about it.
And like it's not work to me.
Right.
It's not. Like I'm like, "Oh, cool. So that's done, and then where do we get started working hard, you know?"
Mhm.
But it's the same thing with me and anything that's like, here are all the specs of what we're going to deliver. Like I can't. I want to lay down and die when I have
Right.
to think about stuff like that.
And I'm like, oh,
So
I have a
having
spreadsheet for
like
that.
you probably have 80 spreadsheets for every version. Like is
Right.
it's so awesome to just not have to think about that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but but that's I mean that's really important. You need to have somebody who really cares about you and your feelings. You need to have somebody who understands your world and doesn't necessarily see eye to eye with you on everything, but who you trust,
Mhm.
and all variations in between. But you need at least those two people, I think. And having that feeling like, okay, so and so thinks like me and she thinks it's cool. So and so doesn't think like me and she thinks it's a really good, solid idea.
Mhm.
Or this random third person, not random, but this other person in my coterie of feedback
Mhm.
is saying it's not for me, but I think for people like so and so it'd be perfect.
Right.
Great. It really makes you realize how viable something is and how I don't know. I mean, and it's kind of silly, but it almost makes you feel like, okay, well, I've got a team behind me now,
Mhm.
and I've talked it out, and I've talked out any potential issues, and I can see its shortcomings, and I can see, I can see very clearly its benefits. So, okay, let's move forward.
Mhm.
Psychologically, that makes such a huge difference, and it does
Sure.
help you. It really,
Oh, I lost you again for a
really
second.
bold. Oh, you did. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
just for a second.
Um, that's what helps you make really bold moves, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think um, having any sort of support really, and that's again where if you have a copywriter that you hire, if you have a business coach that you hire, if you have a marketing team whose VIP day you hire, um, that's
That's
the
us,
kind of
by the way.
right. But that's the kind of real-time feedback that I think makes it a lot easier to make big moves. Where, when you're totally working on your own without any input, it does feel really scary.
Yeah.
My personal business outside of the Voice Bureau, outside of Dossier, I have never launched a service that I offered. It was always somebody came to me and I said, yeah, I can help with that. Um, but it was never something that I was like, I'm going to launch this thing, because it just felt like terrifying. Because
Yeah.
what do you create? How do you build this? And and that, of course, that was also earlier on in my business, and when I was still trying to figure out exactly what my niche was. But um, even now, if I was trying to think of, like, on my own, without anyone else, without you, without Dossier, what would I create as a service? Gosh, I don't even know. And so I think that being able to say, I have some sort of team to kind of help me build a structure to this. Some sort of
Hmm.
feedback, some sort of support, the things that I'm overwhelmed by. We hired a VA this week, and it's
We're so
wonderful.
happy about it.
Yes, we are. And
Stephen, if you're watching, we love you.
it's true. It's true. And we're so excited for all sorts of different reasons. One, he seems really awesome. We really, get along well personally, but it's also really cool to be able to say, okay, I'm going to have support on these things where if I get stuck on how exactly this works, I can say, can you figure out how this works? And I'll focus on the things that I do the best. And,
Yeah.
being able to have, you know, I never really hired help in my life, um, anywhere. And it's been a real revelation to me within the last couple of months, the idea of, oh, I don't have to do that. Like
So good.
my lawn, stupid whatever, it was this point of contention as part of my divorce was who's going to mow the lawn. And it wasn't going to be me unless I really had to. It is gross. It's like 95 degrees, 90% humidity. It's sticky and sweaty, and I am super allergic to grass, of all things.
Right.
It's like my top allergy. So, like, covering myself in grass when it's 95 degrees out wasn't super appealing. And I hired my neighbor to do it. He's done an awesome job. He power washed my driveway. Everything looks totally fantastic. And it's like, oh, I can focus on things that aren't this. This would have taken me like 6 hours a week because I hate it and it stresses me out. And now
Yeah.
instead I can focus on something that is much more worth my time, which is spending time with my kids, making dinner for my kids, working on my business, the things that actually matter to me. I don't give a shit about my lawn aside from I love that it looks nice right now.
Right.
But if I was the one who had to
Right.
deal with it, we'd be zero scaping.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this points to something larger that I really want to help people sort of dismantle.
Mhm.
I think that women in particular are socialized, and this maybe isn't the case anymore for the kids because they're doing a lot better than any of us.
Mhm.
God bless them. But certainly, for women more or less in our age range and older and possibly slightly younger,
Mhm.
um, you're sort of taught to believe that if you can't do it all yourself, it's shameful.
Mhm.
And why can't you get it together? And why can't you just get it done? And, part of that is the lovely patriarchal society we've all been stewing in.
Sure.
Part of it is absolutely American exceptionalism.
Mhm.
Um, and, where those two intersect, I think this is a particularly big, point where we need to realize that, in point of fact, nobody can get everything done. We are all different from each other. And this is my own personal belief because we're meant to help each other.
Mhm.
Um, and this applies to your business because if you can't figure out a way to make yourself feel safe and heard and trusted and just with it, it's never going to be what you want it to be. And so I think laying that foundation is crucial before you can start making the big money, before you can make those bold moves that are going to help you start making the big money.
Right. For sure. And I think about my own life, just personally, the things that I really enjoy. I like to do things really big and kind of obnoxious and over the top and extra.
Extra,
Yes.
super extra.
So when I bake a birthday cake, it's a 3-tier birthday cake. It fills the entire oven. It takes me 3 days to do it. It's, a full day of decorating. It is like an undertaking.
Like she's not exaggerating. Like
No,
that
it's
is 100% true.
that is 100% molded chocolate hummingbirds coming off the sides of the cake and, off the top 2 tiers. So, but when I do these things, there are other parts of my life that I can't focus on. If I'm going to spend 3 days doing this crazy elaborate cake, which I love doing, I'm not scrubbing my bathroom. I am not scrubbing my floors. I am not doing laundry during those 3 days. You know, we're eating whatever I can throw together. There are a lot of Trader Joe's frozen dinners during those 3 days. Um,
Hmm.
because, you know, you can't, you can do a lot of things amazingly, but you can't do all the things amazingly. And it took me a really long time to kind of accept that and come to that understanding with myself that it's okay. It's okay that my kids are wearing not their favorite dress today because the other one's in the laundry, because I'm busy right now. You know,
Yeah.
because I'm running my business, because I'm building a 3-tier cake with, you know, stuff
I
coming
mean,
on me.
that's how physics works. That's just
Right,
a fact.
right.
And getting past that and just sort of like letting that go. Um, I can assure you that's not something men ever struggle with.
No, no.
Um, and because why? Because traditionally women have been doing all the work on the back end for
Right.
them. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing when somebody, oh, this man's done this, this, and that, and he's written all these books, and he, recorded a jazz album, and he's, done all this mind-blowing research. Well,
Hmm.
okay, he wasn't cooking, he wasn't cleaning. I'm pretty sure he wasn't doing his own laundry. Um,
Hmm.
you know, One of my favorite people on the planet, Nick Cave, said that, he says at some point in the last couple of years, he goes, I looked back and I realized for my entire life, there's always been someone caring for me,
Yeah.
bringing me food,
Yes.
cleaning up after me.
Yeah.
Um, that's just how it works. And,
Hmm.
and, and I think dropping that weird, completely fucked up expectation is so crucial. It's so liberating.
Hmm.
And when you understand that, like, oh, this is just life, this is not a judgment on who I am as a woman, this is not a judgment on who I am as a person, it's not about how smart I am or how caring I am,
Hmm.
it's just physics.
Right.
I cannot do everything at once.
Right.
Um, that really, like I said earlier, that gives you such an amazing sense of stability.
Yeah.
And then you can do those bold things, whether it's launching something completely that sounds crazy to you when you say it out loud, but you've wanted to do it forever and you secretly really know it's going to work,
Hmm.
or whether that's, breaking off from, your old business and folding it into a new one that you started with a partner. Um,
Yeah.
you know, um, you can do whatever unconventional thing needs to be done if it is a true central part of who you are and how you want to run your life. And
Mhm.
nobody gets to say you can't do that.
Right.
Because, in fact, yes, you fucking can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's, you know, I think we have to pick and choose. We
Yeah.
have to decide what's important to us in our lives and in our business and in the world. And because, you know, there's only so much energy to go around. It's not even just the time that it takes. You know, there comes a point in my day where I just can't. And, you know, there are times where if I'm in the right mindset, well, you saw this when we were doing our sales pages for the VIP page and the DIY page. I
Yes,
sat
that's a
down and
perfect
knocked out a
example.
sales page in like an hour. And it was like, you know, 1,500 words or 3,000. It was they were
Wow.
sizable sales pages. Um, because I waited until I was in the right mindset for it, and then I did it. And but you know, when I was done with that, I was dead. There was nothing left in me. I couldn't have written a Facebook post at the end of that day because I used up
Yeah.
my words. You know, well, there's the
And
concept
that's
of,
what they're for. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. There's the idea of spoons, you know, for people who
Yes.
are, you know, going through life with really anything that holds them back. But I think honestly, it can work for anyone. It doesn't necessarily need to be related to people who have some sort of disability or some sort of chronic illness that, you know, they're dealing with. But any human being has a limited number of spoons for their day that they can give out. And, you
Yeah.
know, there comes a point where you go, this is as much as I can do. Um,
Yeah.
and we're going to order a pizza, or we're going to have jammy dinner. We've had a lot of jammy dinners in the last week because we've had a lot of deadlines. And so I've been kind of going, you know what? It's gotten really late. I'm not going to be able to do dinner, get it on the table, get you guys eating, get you guys showered, get you guys teeth brushed, and get you into bed. Why don't you go take a shower while I make dinner, and then we'll have jammy dinner. And my girls are
It's so
young enough,
exciting.
right? Yeah. My girls are young enough at 4 and 7 that they're like, oh, jammy dinner, that's so awesome. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's exciting. And, that's great because I just, you run out of spoons. And I didn't have the
Yeah.
spoons to do the whole process and get it all done in time. And you just kind of go, I can't, and that's okay because jammy dinner is fun. And
Yeah.
if I'm going to be making big moves, sometimes it's jammy dinner. And that's,
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think, I keep coming back to this because we set up this Facebook Live as a, you know, how do you make big bold moves in your
Mhm,
business, and what's the right way to do that, and do you have to have all your ducks in a row,
mhm,
and just to, really drive the point home and possibly beat a dead horse into the ground. um, the answer is you can't really make big bold moves until you've taken care of yourself first,
yes.
until you've gotten everything right. Because honestly, all we need is that feeling of support and foundation and of rightness, of wholeness.
Mhm,
Once you have that, you can jump off and do any crazy
anything.
thing
Right,
you want to do with your business, with your life,
right.
with whatever.
Mhm,
Um, I changed my name when I was 22.
mhm.
And I'd always hated my first name. Everybody pronounced it wrong. Nobody can pronounce it correctly who doesn't speak Spanish or Irish or an Eastern European language. And um, I was with a friend. She and I worked together. She was my best friend at the time, and she said, "Well, what name would you pick?" And I said, "Emma." And she goes, "Well," we were looking for bathing suits at the mall, and she goes,
Mhm.
"Why don't you just start going by, like, when you meet people, just say I'm Emma?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, like that hadn't
I
occurred to
can
me."
do that.
But now I had like this permission, I had this
Mhm,
backup, right?
mhm.
So the saleswoman came over and she's like, "Oh, let me take this to a room for you. What's your name?" And I said, "Emma." And my friend was like, "I knew you were going to do that." And I'm like, "Well, now it's
Well,
on, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Um, uh, you know, and that's something that didn't necessarily go over well with everyone in my life.
sure.
It was ridiculously awkward for a very long time.
Mhm.
It still sometimes is, when I run into people I used to know and they call me by a different name. I
Sure.
don't care because, like, I'm Emma,
Right.
and that's something that I did, and everything else I can deal with.
Mhm,
But when you've got that support, when you have that foundation laid,
mhm.
you're kind of unfuckwithable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, how are
that.
we doing on time?
I meant to grab my clock and my ran out of time here. We're at about 45 minutes, um,
Okay.
so we're okay. But yeah, no, I
All
agree. I think that you know, it from the outside, not knowing, if I didn't know you, if I didn't know you as Emma, it would seem crazy to me to be like, you just made up a name? Like, you're not
right. I
allowed to
did.
do that. Where are my pearls?
Clutch them.
We're stuck with what we got. Um, you know,
Nah,
but
you're really not.
no, and in any area of your life, there is nothing
Right.
that you're stuck with. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of how are you going to choose the things that matter and how are you going to prioritize those. And, you know, obviously, obviously, there are certain things in your life that you can't change. Um, but
I'll
there,
never have long legs no matter what. Like, that's just the sad
it just,
reality.
yeah, I hear you. There are so many things that you can change and that you can reframe the way that you look at it. There are so many things that you have
Yeah.
going for you that you don't need long legs. You know, it's. I think that when we start looking at what really matters to us and prioritizing the things that we want to shift, whether it's I want to make more money, or I want to bring this idea into the world. I want to write a book. I want to teach people how to do this cool thing. I want to make 3-tier cakes. Whatever it is, something has to shift. And some of it is you have to have the support. You have to have somebody who says, that's a cool idea, or let me help you, or I want your kids while you do that, or, whatever. There are so many ways that we can get support. And any of those really, it does it, You don't necessarily need all of those things in order to make a big move. It's just kind of, what can I shift? What can I let go? What can I give to someone else? I'm really learning the joys of delegating, and it's so nice. I mean,
it's awesome.
It is. Well, and it's something I think I realized. I'm terrible. I have always been terrible at delegating, because I was the in the group projects, I was the one who was like, I'm just going to do it all because you guys are stressing me out. It's getting too close to the deadline. And
you're right.
You might have guessed this about me. But so I've always been really bad at this delegating. And after I got divorced, I suddenly realized, I can send the kids to their dad's house and I can do a Facebook Live and focus on my business.
Right.
And it's just not my problem right now. And I love them, and when I spend time with them, that's wonderful, but I can't do all of that all the time and still, be able to make the moves that I need to make.
Exactly.
And likewise, in the opposite direction, I can't have a deadline every single day and still take my kids to the beach or on vacation or the things that I want to do with them. So it is really finding that balance and kind of saying, okay, right now I'm launching these things for my business and that's my focus. In a month, I'm doing this thing for my kids and that's my focus. On Tuesday, I'm doing this thing and that's my focus. Being able to really call out what's important to us from just one moment to the next is where these big moves come from, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do we want to wrap up? Do any sort of final thoughts kind of?
Sure. Yeah. Well, why don't we talk just for a second about our VIP days that we're doing? Because I'm really excited about this as an idea, because I think it ties together a lot of our strengths, and is like a super quick way to make these big moves, which because we're fast. I didn't really realize it until I worked with other people, and no, I mean, but realistically, you get something done and they're like, oh, that would have take you 5 days. And I'm like, it took me 20 minutes. What?
Yeah.
Because, once you figure out what your zone of genius is and you really commit to living in it, you can be so much more productive and you can be so much more focused. And so,
oh my God, yeah.
I think for the two of us, we found what we're good at. We found that marketing and branding and writing is something that we do really well. And, being able to say, we're going to knock this out because this is where we are. If somebody else spent 7 hours on this and it wasn't, it was really stressful for them. For example, if I spent 7 hours trying to network, I would be jumping off a bridge at the end of my day, because that's not,
I mean, that's a bit much even for me. But but so I mean, let's talk about what it is that we're referring to, right? The VIP offering. It's the VIP single day offering, and it's if you have a big project you've been putting off, or that you just haven't necessarily gotten around to. Maybe you need new copy on your website. Maybe you need an entirely new website. Maybe you need help writing a course Maybe you need some new ads, um, a couple of press releases for your new thing that you're doing. Um, Really
Mhm.
anything that falls under the banner of branding, marketing, PR.
Right.
For this VIP single day um, fanciness package that they offer, you get our undivided attention for 7 hours.
Mhm.
It's 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Mhm.
Pacific time?
Yes,
Okay.
because it's 11 to 6 for
Um,
me. I don't get
yes,
up that early.
I am so bad at time zones. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's right. You don't get up there.
Mm-mm.
Katie's a night owl.
I am.
Um, for that time, we focus 100% on you and the project that you need. And Katie and I trade off tasks
Mhm.
according to our skill set and what we're just naturally better at.
Right.
And by the end of the day, you have the thing that you needed.
Mhm.
And right up front, we'll send you really luxe tools and treats for the
Oh,
day.
I'm so
And you
excited
get
about these
lunch.
kits that we're sending.
I know, I
So
know.
excited.
They're really, really good. They're
Yeah.
really good. And we'll have lunch delivered to your door from your favorite nearby restaurant.
Mhm.
So we wanted to have the idea of when you're doing what you love, yeah, it's work and it costs you something, but it's invigorating and
Mhm.
it's refreshing and it's exciting. So we wanted to sort of marry that idea with the concept of a spa day
Mhm.
almost. 'Cause, like a
Yeah.
spa day at home, like the concept of a working lunch, but
Mhm.
elevated several times.
Yes.
And so this was our answer to that.
Mhm.
We're really excited. We've got one
Mhm.
coming up in about a week, 2 weeks,
Week and a half. Yeah. On
week
the
and a
8th,
half. Yeah.
we have our first one. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Mhm.
So we're really excited about that. It's just a really easy way to
Mhm.
get things done exactly the way you want them done.
Right. And for this first one, we're doing copywriting for a course. And
Hmm.
this is something that going into it, I don't want to get into too much of the details of what we're doing, but it's going into it, this person has an idea of the overall structure, but needs the actual course written. And for the two of us, it's like, yeah, all right. Emma's really good at the first step, getting the outlines and the order and everything. I'm really good at the second step, which is filling that in. And then Emma's really good at the next step, which is editing what I've written. And everything that we work on, anytime we do consulting, anytime we do copywriting, we followed this structure where it's like this kind of back and forth. We talk through it. She starts it. I do the middle. She does the end. I come back and read it through one more time. And, you know, having this kind of relationship that we have, that we've worked together for like 10 years almost. Um, I think that it's a really natural back and forth with us. And being able to say, you know what, on Friday night, there is no product. On Saturday night, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you could make crazy amounts of money realistically by saying, I have this idea for a course and it's not launched, or I don't know how to turn it into something. And then saying, and now it's completely ready to go and I can just launch it. And, you know, I think
Move
that,
on with my life and get rich.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And there's no shame in that. That's awesome. Do
Right.
it. Get rich.
Yeah.
You know, I think that these big scary moves, when we make them in a vacuum and when we make them without support from people who are knowledgeable, when we try to do everything ourselves, when we try to get in our own heads over, oh, but I can't unless I do this. No, no. Let someone else support you for this. And
Yeah.
whether it's us supporting you or whether it's your best friend who's really good at something who you can bounce some ideas off of, or, whatever it is, that's so critical. And I love that we can create this and that you and I can support them in this way because
Yeah.
we have fun with it. We have a really, we love doing it and being able to be like, maybe we just made somebody rich. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. 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 And it's awesome to be able to do what you're good at and help somebody. And through that sort of helping somebody, you're a small part of creating something awesome and letting it loose into the world.
Yes.
And that's like, it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. Yeah. I was working through one of the courses from Rachel Rogers last
Oh
night,
yeah, we
actually.
love Rachel Rogers.
But
She's fantastic.
in this module that I was working on, it was about um, feeling uncomfortable with yourself and feeling like you're too much or too weird, or there's something, that you have to like tone down about who you are. And um, if you don't do that, then what happens? And if you allow yourself to be weird and loud and who you are, what does that create in the world? What creates more of what you are and what you want and what you want to bring about. And I think that, you know, for me, I was like simultaneously too much and too little my whole life, where it was like I was really
Yes.
shy and really quiet and really reserved, but at the same time, I was a really loud dresser. We've talked about this a little bit. Like, I wore pleather pants to high school on a Tuesday because I wanted to wear pleather pants with platform snakeskin loafers, because obviously. And
Because obviously,
right. And so, but I mean, like, you get that kind of like, people don't know what to do with you because you're like the shy, quiet one, but also the weird one who's kind of, you know, in your face. But in really embracing that and in bringing it to my business, my brand, who I am as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a company, um, I feel like I'm bringing more of that into the world, where the weirdos do really amazing things because we're focused on like this really cool stuff that we're into. And I think that um, really embracing that has such a huge value,
yeah,
because it allows you to hone in on expanding your own world, because
yeah,
there are things, as we're all learning in this pandemic, there are things that are really freaking hard to find online. And it's so stupid because it's like, why is this so difficult? And yet you kind of go like, okay, well, if I was in charge of things, I would get that business online and get them selling the stuff that I want to buy that I haven't been able to find.
yeah,
And I love
exactly.
that. I love being able to support the stuff that just isn't out there, that needs to be out there. Um, because
Yeah, that facilitation just really feels good.
yes, yes, absolutely. So anyway,
Well, good.
yeah, we get all worked up. Be
I
weird,
know, I
everyone.
know.
Be
Now I'm like,
weird.
okay.
Weird is so good. We love weird so
Remember that line
much.
from The Craft? We are the weirdos, mister.
Right?
Um, I want to say really quick, thank you to everyone who was here watching. It was
Yeah.
really, really great to see your names. If you have certain topics that you would like us to talk about during our next one, they're all pop up. They're all just sort of, hey, we're doing this today.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in more, go ahead and click like on our page,
Hmm.
and you can find the notify me when they go live,
Hmm.
or when they sneeze, or whatever it is. I don't know what the
Yeah.
Facebook settings are. Um, but definitely, you can leave it in the comments, or you can send us a message,
Hmm.
or if you want, you can just message either one of us.
However,
We're really interested in knowing, in terms of business, or really anything, what you would like to have conversations about.
yeah.
We always want to know what questions you have. Always feel free to leave comments. We're
Hmm.
we're totally interested, and we're available, and
Yeah.
we're doing this because we think that we've gone through a lot of we've been through a lot individually and together, and we
Hmm.
think that we've got some advice to pass along, or some interesting topics to discuss, or what have you. Our aim is to be helpful. So,
Hmm.
yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, and tell us how we can support your big, bold move.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Between the two of us, we've been in business for 20-ish years.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
as marketing professionals, we work with so many different kinds of businesses. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh about it sometimes because in my week I'm like, well, I've got a thing for the plumber accreditation agency in the morning, and then we've got something for a magician in the afternoon, and then for a designer in the evening, and then tomorrow we're working on a skincare company. And you know, there are
It's
so many.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience from 1 hour to the next in this business. And I think that because we've worked with such a broad range of businesses, it feels like, you know, we get a glimpse into all of these different areas that
Yes.
I think it's really cool. It's probably my favorite part of what I do is like I know so many random things about so many different businesses out there and, you know,
Yeah.
industries. And being able to take that and say, okay, so you're looking to do this. Let's talk about it. You know, we would love to support your what you need, you know,
Yeah.
however we can.
So
So
tell us.
yes. Yeah.
And thank you again for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing this again soonish.
Yeah. I think I've don't have kids in a couple weeks.
Eh,
You never know.
Be on the lookout.
Surprise. Yes. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Cheers.